10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey guys, and welcome back. In this video it's going to be a little bit different in that I'm going to show you the processes I go through when I am recovering parts and vintage bits off of old boards and technical gear that I've been given or I've picked up along the way. So you may know some of this, you may not, and it gives you a bit of an insight into why I do this sort of thing and why I strip down and recuperate these parts, not just for me but for other people I know that do service and repair vintage gear as well. So that's enough from me, and we'll get on with the video. Grab yourself a drink, something to eat if you want, and a nice comfy chair, and sit back and let's get on with it. Hi guys, and something a little bit different at the moment. I've got to go through and get rid of a lot of bits and pieces that I've got just sitting around and taking up space, because I'm limited on space. So I pulled out this, I've got a few of these units. I got these a while back for next to nothing. And I thought, well, rather than junk them, they've got aluminium and all sorts of bits and pieces on them. I thought they'll be handy for stuff. So the thing is they have a whole pile of relays. I'm not 100% sure on what the stats of these are, but we can look those up. But as you can see, there's a whole pile here. There's another couple of these as well, basically the same. And then they have these little push-in boards that go into these connectors, so this stuff's always handy. On here there's some little rotary encoders on here, selectors, some transistors, ICs, maybe not a lot of other stuff, tantalums maybe, if they're of any use, but gold plated boards, so they're good for recycling. But I'll go through and pull off what I think I need. And the thing I was thinking, oh well, what am I going to do with this, because I generally have a lot of the stuff in like these little brown envelopes. You used to get, you guys will know from years and years ago, you used to get your wages in them years and years ago. Well, they're that type of envelope. And these just have some older ICs in them and some heat sinks for them. So I thought, rather than this, what I'm going to do is use these. These are the containers I got from Temu in the big container. And as you can see, I've started pulling some of this apart. These are the spaces that are between these and that board, and then those are the long screws that go through it. So I thought I'll use them for that, and because what I can do is on the case I can mark it and say what is what and do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and pop all these out. These all look very much the same. I'm not 100% sure what this was for. These ones actually look a little bit, from about here down to here, look a bit different, because if I pop this one out, slightly different transistors in it. It's only got 2, the other one's got 3, and it has an LED, a 3mm LED, red LED in it. So I'm not sure, but other than that it looks pretty much the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop all these out, and I'm just going to put them on the bench. Few different capacitors on it, and what we'll do is I'm just going to go through and sort them out and see if there's anything I want to keep, what I don't want to keep. A lot of the things like these relays and that, I'm not going to use them. I'll keep the sockets, they're handy, and these edge connectors, I'll keep a few of these as well. But what I might do is I might look at, for the guys who are local to me, I may look at saying to them, you know, if anybody wants some to pull apart for bits off them or whatever, or want some of the relays, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to use them all, so yeah, I'll go through and do that. And when I say I've got a lot of these, I probably, if I totaled the whole lot up, I've got probably near on 100 of these relays. So, always handy things to have. I'd say they'll probably be about either 12 or maybe 24 volt ones. I'm not sure what this was, but I'm looking at some sort of telecommunications unit, something to do with a telephone exchange or a PABX or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, I will go through and I'll pull all this apart and we'll come back to what I have. Right guys, so I've gotten all those out. There's 43 of these just in this one unit. So that'll tell you how many I've got. There was 2, 4, 6, 7 of the ones with the LED in it, and there was 11 of the ones without the LED in it. Not sure what the difference is on them. I'm going to go through and check the transistors and that sort of thing on them, and just check out what else is on there, if it's anything of use that I may want to grab. So yeah, I'll go through and I'll strip all this down and take these sockets and everything out. There is a lot of wiring on the back. There's a few more connectors on component holders on the back here, solder tabs, and I'll take those, unbolt those and take those off, and some of the caps that are on here maybe. If they got nice long leads like these ones, I'll probably take them and keep them because they're better than throwing them out. Short leads are not worth having because they're just too much mucking around. But anyway guys, I'll get on and I'll strip this down and come back to you when I've got it all in pieces. Okay, we'll see you shortly. Okay guys, so I've gone through and I've taken all the wire off now, as you can see. What I'll do is I'm going to go through the wire and keep the longer stuff. The short stuff I'm not going to worry about, I'll bin that. So now I've got to go through and I'm just going to, it made it a lot easier because there was an earth wire down the centre of the relays. So I've had to cut that out as well, and it was just beard wire, so I've just binned that. So what I'm going to do now is I've got to go through and unscrew all these and take all these out of this board now. And I'll decide what I'm going to do with them from there. These look quite interesting. Now I'm not sure if these are the same as what they used to use on the ZX8081s for the cartridge slots. I'm not sure. But they might be handy. I mean, it's going to be easy to desolder them and that, so, and they look really nice. Not a lot of use. Gold plated. The 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 20 pin, so 10 on either side. This one's a bit different. The blue one, it's only actually a single set of pins, not a dual, so that's only a 10 pin, I think. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yep. That's only a 10 pin. So that may have been a power or a data in to go to the rest of this. I don't know. But anyway, I will carry on now and I'll pull the rest of this apart and then we'll see what we got in the end. Alright guys, so I'm getting down to the end of this board now, so I've only got a few more to do. I've loosened off all the nuts and that, and with the screwdriver on one side and the nut driver on the other, so I'm just going to go through and take the rest of these out, and then take out the bits for the other component holders. As you can see, I've also got some containers to put all the bits into for now until I can sort them all out, especially the nuts and the screws, and they are different lengths as well, which is good because you do need them at different sizes. And one thing is they're all the same thread, so the nut fits the same one, fits the longer ones, these shorter ones, and the really long ones I pulled out to start with. So. Alright, there you go. So I've got them all off. You saw me fighting with that one fuse, and it's like, looking at it, it looks like somebody's cross-threaded the nut when they put it in. Pain in the neck to get off when that happens. I didn't have a crescent with me to get in there to do it. But that's all done. So that's a nice bit of aluminium you can use for a heat sink or something like that. If not, it'll go to the scrap. So that's all the stuff I've gotten off it. And there's these had their own mounting screws for components, adding components in. There's a few diodes in here, and those are resistors, caps. A few more resistors and caps. I don't know if I hang on to those. I might desolder them and keep these boards. A lot of you guys will probably turn around and say, why do you bother doing this? Well, the thing is that some of this old stuff, like these sockets and that, see if you can find them. Or, if you find them, see how much they cost each to buy. That's why. So some of the stuff, I mean, these are common. You can still get them. Get a price on one. See how much they charge you for one of these. I don't need the whole lot. I'm not going to keep the whole lot. But the thing is I'll need a few of them for if I do repairs on stuff. And this is the whole thing. If you're into doing vintage stuff, it is nice to put vintage parts back into them, especially if they're good parts. So that's why I do a lot of this. And the thing is like some of the transistors, trying to get some of these old transistors that are in still good nick, trying to get some of them or an equivalent for them these days is very, very hard. Especially if you're looking at geranium and stuff like that. Very hard to get some of that stuff now. So I'm going to go through these and sort all these out later on. These as well will go into a bigger container. All my nuts, those are off that dark blue one. They're a slightly different size. A lot of this stuff I will clean these up and they will go into my big container of bits. The wires, as I said, I will go through and I'll sort the sizes out, throw the little ones away. I'll go through and take these wires out and take these caps off. I'll check the size. These, I think, were power rails, plus or minus power rails. So these will probably be 0.01s, 0.1s for filter caps. That's what that would have been. They would have had one every so many just to filter out for the boards that were going in there because of the IC on them. So rather than, I suppose, having them all on individual boards, they put the cap in the rail itself. So, but anyway, I will go through and sort all this stuff out and get rid of the rubbish I don't want, and then we'll get on to something else. Hi guys, welcome back. So, got through and desoldered a couple of the boards, one of each, and there's a bit of gear in here that may or may not be of use, depending on what you're doing, that's of course. So, if you like playing around with bits and pieces and want cheap stuff, there's lots of cheap stuff in amongst it. So I'll read you what's on them. So on the first board, which is the one that has the 3 transistors on it, it's in this container here. That's just the board. There are these diodes that are on these, and it's just a red and a blue band. Now I've tried to research that, and the only thing I can find about that is that they could be a Zener diode. So I asked in a couple of the online forums, and a couple have got back where they've said they could be a fast switching diode. So I'm not sure what they are, so I may grab a few and stick them aside. They may be just a white elephant, so I can't use them. But anyway, on this first board, there's a NE555 timer, 2 BC177Bs. Now these are a low noise general purpose audio amp. There is a BC107B, one of, which is a low power bipolar NPN. The other things are, there's a BZY88C15, one of those, which is a 15 volt Zener, and a BZY88C18, which is an 18 volt Zener. And there is a 1 meg variable resistor, a square one, this type here, which is adjustable by the little key in the front. Now the second one, which is this one, which has the LED on it, this one here, I haven't bothered to take the capacitors off. I'm still tossing up about those. The other thing that first board had was it has a tantalum capacitor here. I'm not 100% sure if I'm reading this right or not, but it seems to be 32 and 16 volt. So the bottom green is the voltage, which is 16, and then we have the first colour and a second colour and the black dot. The thing is the first and the second colour look very, very close, but under the microscope when I put it on, one is an orange and one is a red. So which comes out at 32. Black as a multiplier is nothing. So I take it, is it 32 UF, 32 NF, 32 PF? I don't know. Looking at the size of it, and I'm weighing it up against another tantalum which is on the second board, I would say it's probably in the UF, because this one is a 10 UF at 16 volts. It's actually written on it. It's a later model one rather than these early coloured ones. So I'm picking it's probably that until I can find a way to find out for sure. I don't know. But now the second board, it has an NE555DN, one of those. It has a 3mm red LED. It has two BC107 transistors, which are the low noise general purpose audio amps. It has the 10 UF 16 volt tantalum. It also has the other one, the same as the other board, which we're picking as a 32 16 volt. And it also has a BZY88 C15, which is the 15 volt Zener diode. So that's what's on the boards. There are resistors, and it also has these other diodes on it that I'm not sure what they are. But the resistors and so forth, I mean, I'm not overly worried with those. I have piles and piles of resistors. There's some of the caps are here. These are pigtail, which are in lines, and I don't have many of those now. Most of the capacitors I have are all end to end. So whether I keep a couple of these, I don't know. I will see how I go. I might test them and see if on the ESR meter and see if they're any good. So I mean, that's basically what are on those two boards. So I mean, other than that, and all the connectors I've got now, I've got all those desoldered, and all the nuts and bolts, of course. There's a bit of a haul there. There's the bucket of relays, and there's their sockets. I haven't desoldered their sockets yet. There's those sockets to be done. So there is a bit of stuff in amongst it. You know, this is what you get from junk that gets thrown away. So there are some handy bits and pieces. Not that I'm going to need all the NE555s and that, but what I can do is I'll take these out and I'll test the bits, and I'll put them together into little packs, and I'll give them away to guys in our local club. So spare bits and pieces for them. So I will carry on now, and this is just to show you what you can recover from things that may be of use. And if you're doing vintage gear, a lot of these older parts are worth getting. The BCs are not a biggie, but you do get some oddball ones on some of these old electronic boards, and trying to get some of those, like the OCs and the AFs, etc., branded transistors, are getting very, very hard. So it's worthwhile having a look at. And I was actually lucky. I picked up a whole pile of old electronic components from a chappie whose dad had moved overseas, and he was cleaning out everything, and when I got those, my dad had a radio that his father built, and he unfortunately put the wrong voltage into the power supply. It was a battery operated one, and killed quite a few of the transistors in it. And he was lucky that in the parts I had either the exact transistor he needed, brand new old stock, or the equivalent to it. So it was really, really cool that I could do that for my dad. So I did that for him and took them over to him. He's in Australia, so I took them to Australia for him when I was over there on holiday, and gave them to him and said to him, here's the parts for you to finish and restore your dad's radio, transistor radio. Alright, so anyway, I will go on. I've got plenty more stuff to go through and sort out, so you don't want to see me doing all this. But as I say, guys, you just never know. And the other thing I find handy is this is just a little USB microscope, just a cheapie, but really good. I had to use it to read these diodes because I couldn't tell what they are even with my glasses. Really, really good for that, and for looking up numbers and so forth on the bits. So, alright guys, I will leave you to it and I'll carry on. Well, there you go, guys. There's a little bit inside of why I do this. I mean, you can get your parts from everywhere, you know, like there's some old power supplies from old printers, motherboards out of the printers. I mean, go through them and see what's on here. Some of the stuff's going to be really, really hard to get off, and do you really need it? But there's things like USB ports, micro SDs, SD slots, CF card slots. Using hot air, and if you do it gently so you don't cook the plastics, you can generally get them off. A little bit of flux and solder wick, and you can generally clean a lot of this up and then gently heat it up. Or if you have a preheater, you could sit boards like this on a preheater and then heat them up, and then that little bit of hot air on the other side, and they'll gently come off and away. But you can take all sorts of things, network connectors, and there's all sorts of paraphernalia on these boards you can get. And power packs out of printers. I mean, some of this stuff, it uses standard, over here, standard 240 volts. A lot of these are 110, 240 anyway. Crack it open and see what it is. If it's putting out 12 volts at an amp and a half or 2 amps, there's a 12 volt power supply. All sorts of things you can use this stuff for. And a lot more of the older stuff, you can pull it apart and take the bits out of it that you want. And not just computer and electronic based stuff. I do it with old stoves, dishwashers, microwaves, all that sort of stuff. You go into stoves and things like that, neon lights, they generally come out of the stoves in neon bulbs. So there's all that sort of stuff you can get. Old power supplies, you can get the connectors off them. You'll generally get the power connectors out of them, and these are handy to do if you just want something to splice something together. All sorts of things like that you can do. So there's a few ideas for you. So I really hope this has helped you and given you a few ideas, places to look. I mean, look at your green waste places and outlets like that take a lot of waste, electrical waste away, and have a look, see what's there. There might be something really interesting. And if you strike up a friendship with someone there, you can always say to them, hey, I'm always on the outlook for this sort of stuff. Get first dibs on it. Can't be any worse. Anyway, guys, that's it. Wrapped up for another one. But looking at getting some more of the retro gear in and going through that and getting some of that back up and running again. I do have a lot of old PC gear that I'm not going to do videos on. A lot of that I'm just getting it ready to get rid of it. It's stuff I don't really hold any sort of attachment to. So I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. There's all the old boards and stuff that are there, and the old PCs and stuff like that I need to go through and sort out. And a lot of those are early Pentium. There is a 286 board, and I think an 386 board. But anyway, there's a lot more of that stuff there I'm going through. But that stuff I'm not going to do videos on because it's not what my channel's about. So I'm going to put that stuff all back together, and that'll be going on the local auction site to get rid of. And it's just going to give me more room back. I've got so much stuff still boxed away in my sheds out the back, and I just can't get them in here to do them. And I mean, there's the K-Pros, the Bond wells, all that stuff I need to get back into to finish them all off, get them all done and dusted, move them on to new homes, and make some room. The wives are always honoured us about this sort of thing. So you got to keep them happy. And so long as it's not something I am really, really passionate about, I've got no issues with moving at all. So guys, until next time, keep safe and happy vintage computing. Until we see each other again, ciao.